So I finally have them all. Let's make a comparison video. Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to be comparing all 5 versions of the iconic New Balance 990 line. So in this video, I'm going to be mainly focusing on the major differences and the overall evolution of the series over time. If you're looking for full side-by-side overviews of each shoe, I recommend checking out my individual reviews for each shoe and also the individual comparison videos where I do direct side-by-side overview comparisons of both shoes. As I said, in this video, I'm going to be focusing mainly on the major differences and a quick look at the overall evolution of each shoe as the 990 line went on. So in 1982, New Balance released its first new running shoe called the 990. In this case, it's the 990 version 1. This shoe introduced the motion control device, which utilized a combination of a foam midsole with a polyurethane heel cradle, and that provided a great combination of both cushioning and support and stability, which is one of my favorite combinations of cushioning technologies. In the V1, it was simply called the motion control device. Eventually, this would be called NCAP in later New Balance models, and it's still used in a multitude of New Balance lifestyle models. Today, in 2021, the New Balance 990 V1 for a lifestyle shoe is still pretty comfortable for casual use and if you're just walking around. Obviously, it doesn't compare to any modern cushioning technology shoes or the V5 or V4, but it's still a decently comfortable lifestyle shoe, especially for a shoe that's almost 40 years old. In 1998, New Balance released its first ever update to the iconic 990 line with the New Balance 990 V2. As for the cushioning technology in this shoe, this was the first and only shoe to switch from the classic NCAP technology to an Absorb midsole. In my opinion, Absorb is mostly just a proprietary foam cushioning technology similar to like Adidas Boost and Nike React. And a lot of people might think that's a good thing. I personally prefer NCAP and motion control device over Absorb because of the combination of cushioning and stability. This Absorb, in my opinion, just provides cushioning and not too much support and stability, but it's still a good, it still has great comfort for a lifestyle shoe that is decades old. In 2012, New Balance released the version 3. In 2016, they released version 4. And finally, in 2019, they released version 5. The reason why I'm grouping the V3, V4, and V5 together is because in terms of design and cushioning technology, they are very similar feeling, with one small exception in the V5. All 3 shoes utilizes New Balance's signature NCAP midsole technology, and as I said earlier, that is one of my favorite midsole technologies. An excellent combination of cushioning, support, and stability means that it's great for all-day comfort, and you can even run in these 3 shoes today. As for the V5, the reason why I give it an edge over the V4 and V3 comfort-wise is because of the nice soft Ortholite insole. I like to say that the V5 kind of has a dual density foam cushioning system because you get the already great NCAP midsole, but you also get a nice soft foam Ortholite insole on top of it. So that's why I kind of call it like a dual density foam system. I'm not too sure if that's technically correct, but the combination of both that great insole and the already excellent NCAP midsole means that this shoe is beyond comfortable. As you could probably tell, in terms of comfort, I have to give the edge over to the 990 V5 solely because of the addition of the Ortholite Comfort insole. The combination of the insole and the midsole means that it is really comfortable. As I said earlier, the V4 and the V3's midsole feels the same as the V5's. They just lack the additional comfort insole. Otherwise, all 3 would be excellent in terms of comfort. The V1 and V2, they're very old shoes. They're both retros. They're still comfortable for lifestyle wear, but they don't compare to the latest edition of the 990 line. As for sizing, I'm gonna go over two opinions of the sizing for the New Balance 990 line, mostly because my opinion differs greatly from the general consensus of the overall New Balance community's opinion of sizing for the 990 line. In my opinion, all 5 shoes in the 990 version series fit me true to size. Although I will say the 990 V2 does seem to feel a bit more narrow, not so much narrow that I'd go up half a size or that I'd want a wider sizing. I have standard width feet. I'm a true size 9.5. I got all 5 of these shoes in a size 9.5 and they all fit me great. I will say the V1, V3, V4, and V5 might have like a little extra room in the toes, but I have tried a V5 in a size 9 and it felt a little too tight, so that's why I went with the true size. Again, I don't consider myself wide-footed, but I go true to size in all 5. That being said, the general consensus from the New Balance community seems to be that the New Balance 990 V1, V3, V4, and V5 all fit big, and they recommend going down half a size, and the V2 is the only one that fits true to size. I'm not too sure. I know the V5 is also in wider and narrower sizing, so that's also a thing. So just keep that in mind. That's my opinion, that's the community's opinion, and everyone's feet is different, so I definitely recommend trying on any of these shoes before you buy them if you have the chance. So now in this part of the video, I want to go over the incremental evolution of the overall shoe over the years. So with the V1, the shoe is mostly made up of excellent quality suedes, meshes, the motion control device, midsole, a great combination of cushioning and support, and a pretty thin and flimsy tongue. It can be a little tricky putting it on top of your foot, and you kind of need to fold it out. But overall, an excellent first shoe in the 990 line. Version 2 brought a new cushioning technology in the midsole with Absorb. As I said earlier, in my opinion, Absorb is more just focused on cushioning with no real support or stability added. Version 2 was also the beginning of the addition of synthetic nubuck panels around the toe box area that adds nice contrast and makes good paneling for color blocking in cool collabs or just GR colorways. The tongue was also a bit more padded and more stable rather than the flimsy one found in the version 1. Version 2 also introduced 3M reflective accents on the New Balance N logo and around the toe box. The 990 V3 built upon the V2 and continues the standard suede and mesh uppers with synthetic nubuck panels and as well as 3M reflective hits around the shoe, but the meshes are more prevalent. They're also a lot more breathable for your feet. The mesh is also found to line the ankle area and the tongue area. The tongue is also a lot more padded than the version 2, and the outsole has a lot better traction, and it went from Absorb to New Balance's signature end cap technology. Version 4 brought even more panels of mesh material. The mesh was even more breathable. It continued the design of the suedes and the synthetic nubucks, and the tongue itself was also mostly mesh, and the tongue was also even more padded, the ankle area was even more padded, and the outsole had even better traction than the V3. A great improvement. And finally, with version 5, you get an incremental update from the V4. The V4 and the V5 are very similar, but there are some minor differences as I went over in the 990 V5 versus V4 overview video. I'd say the main difference is the shape of the midsole and outsole for a more modern, sleek look, and a slightly updated outsole, and the great addition of the Ortholite Comfort insole makes it so that the V5 is the most comfortable 990 shoe to this day. One other small thing to note is that the V4 and the V5 seem to have the same thinner flat laces, whereas the V2, V1, and V3 have slightly thicker laces. A small low design change, but something interesting to note. So it's really cool to see how the 990 line evolved over the years. This line is almost over 40 years old now, and the V6 is coming out next year in 2022. I'm really excited to see it when it comes out. Well, there have been already pictures posted online, already posted by Teddy Santis, who's in charge of the New Balance Made in USA shoes next year as well, which is going to be very exciting. I think the V6 looks really dope. I like how it looks a lot different than the V3 through V5, and that's obviously a good thing. Still takes some cues from the V5. The midsole looks thicker than the V5, which is going to be really interesting for cushioning. And yeah, I can't wait to see how it compares to the V5 and the other 4 sneakers in the 990 line. So let me know what your guys' favorite 990 version shoe is. In my opinion, for comfort-wise and overall everyday use, has got to be the V5. Definitely the most comfortable, very breathable too. That Ortholite insole definitely adds to the comfort. In terms of design-wise, for just a good-looking lifestyle shoe, I gotta give the edge over to the 990 V2. I really like the design. I don't really know the best way to describe it, but I think it looks like both retro and sleek at the same time. Yeah, I don't know. In terms of what I'm hoping in the future for the 990 line, I know I said how I prefer end cap over absorb, but I was wondering if maybe absorb was just unpopular in the 990 V2, and so they went back to end cap for the V3 and beyond. But I'm wondering if they'll ever bring back absorb in a more modern version. Obviously the V2 is decades old, and the midsole and outsole combination isn't necessarily the best for today's running shoe standards. But I'm wondering what like a more modernized version of absorb would look like for an everyday lifestyle and casual running shoe. Maybe the V7 might have it, I don't know. It's also interesting to see how New Balance released each new iteration of the 990 line. There's a pretty big gap between the V1 and V2, and then a smaller gap between the V2 and V3, and then even smaller gaps between the V4 and the V3 and the V4 and the V5, and then the V5 and the V6. I wonder if it's just going to be every 3 years now, since it was 3 years it was 3 years between the V4 and the V5 and the V5 and the V6. Just, are we supposed to expect a new 990 shoe every 3 years? That'll be interesting. Maybe the V7 might have absorb, I don't know. Definitely going to be interesting to see what New Balance brings in the future. So that's going to do it for this video. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, follow me on my socials, and I'll catch you in the next one.